Good morning, everyone. And first off, for those that are not Asian, happy Moon Festival. We are expecting a full moon here in Singapore around 9:30 p.m. tomorrow. So whatever you're doing, whatever party you're at, I heard the Barachain party last night was a lot of people. Walk outside and enjoy the moon, and maybe we'll see some changes in the crypto landscape and pricing. That was a joke, so don't quote me on that. So today I was supposed to give the closing keynote here, but I wanted to give the opening because there was some change in schedule. And I wanted to talk about one topic that I think everyone has been thinking about today and also this year especially, which is data integrity and the impact of that on AI and the role of Filecoin for those that may not be as familiar. So there we go. So I don't know what's going on with the slides, but right now we are experiencing a really interesting time in technology. You can see some of the headlines on the right. These are just headlines we see in our use every day. A lot of people are uncertain about the consequences of AI. I was just actually at a talk yesterday with Brian Johnson, who talked about the thing that he cares a lot about, how to not die, includes how to not get taken over by powerful AI that might kill humans at some point, right? And so this is something that everyone cares about. And in the crowd yesterday, someone said, why don't we bomb all the data centers so that AI won't be this super powerful being that might actually take over human intelligence? And so one of the things that we are very passionate about is at the Filecoin Foundation and also within the Filecoin ecosystem is restoring trust to users. We think this is one of the best use cases of blockchain and crypto, is really making sure we can prove where data is coming from and making sure that's protected for users that want to secure their data in a private way and that it's not owned by big tech. And so I don't know if the clicker, oh, you're going to do it. Okay, great. And so AI and data is growing exponentially. I think we're experiencing more than 75,000 zettabytes of data by 2040. In fact, estimates say that I think by 2026, nearly 90% of the data that's created will be generated by AI. And so this is something that we think is really, really critical, is how our data is stored, how our data is used, and how do we make sure that we can really make sure it's safeguarded the way it is, it's not manipulated or misused, and that at the end of the day, we can also control and trust it. Another example for those that are not as aware is if you've ever been to San Francisco and you've seen the self-driving cars that are roaming around, each one of those self-driving cars have terabytes of data, if not gigabytes, depending on which car company, that are just produced every day. Imagine if that car hits somebody and you want to figure out what's wrong with that algorithm or that model. And companies today are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars each month just on data storage alone. And so being able to preserve and look at data over time is something that is really difficult and actually hinders the ability for startups today to be innovative if their data cost keeps growing at an exponential rate. One of the things that you guys may or may not be aware of is the internet is still a very fragile place. We have a lot of beauty of seeing a lot of websites being produced every day. Actually, only 22% of Americans actually believe that the internet is fragile. And 55% of adults have digital data they care about. Some people have photographs, but we've also experienced internet blackouts, like when Facebook went down in October of 2022, right? There are a lot of businesses and journalists and people that today store all of their data online. And 83% of adults wants companies to give more information about how their data is used. I'm sure you guys have all experienced moments where you're using Instagram and there's an ad that comes up that targets you without your consent. And we've seen this also in instances where teenagers are pregnant and their parents receive a piece of mail when they search for birth control or Plan B or something, and their parents find out what happens. So these are very real situations where we can imagine how our data is used and consumed are more important than ever. Next. And so today the internet is incredibly fragile. Who here has ever clicked on a link and gotten a 404 error? I got this week already with some certain Luma pages. I think Luma actually went down yesterday. So everyone here can probably nod if you were trying to go to events yesterday and look at the schedule. So today, the internet's extremely fragile. In fact, 67% of links created over the last 9 years are broken. And this is a phenomenon that Jonathan Zittrain from Harvard University calls link rot, where when you click on a URL, how the data is actually stored. Maybe at the end of the day, someone forgets to pay their AWS bill. And so this is a problem that we're trying to solve at Filecoin. We have decentralized storage centers all around the world, including many here in Singapore, where our very backbone of our technology allows for us to do content addressing in a very different way so that you will always have a permanent link linked by the hash of a file rather than its location. And so this is something that we're trying to solve. And imagine how something like link rot may impact how AI data is used and shared. It's even harder to track in that time and day. Next slide. So here is a couple of examples of how we like to think about data integrity. We look at it from the storage layer. So we have tons of companies that are exploring how to bring decentralized storage and data onto the enterprise. We have companies that are thinking about SOC 2 compliance. We have an alliance called the Decentralized Enterprise Alliance that has a lot of traditional companies onboarded like Seagate, Intel, AMD. So we are thinking a lot about this in many different layers. We also have a lot of on-ramps. So we have companies like Ghost Drive. If you've ever run out of photo space on your phone, Ghost Drive is a company that builds on top of Filecoin where you can back up your phone data, all your images from this week that you want to share, all the crazy events, you can use those. And we also have enterprise-centric on-ramps to really get the next billion enterprise startups onto the decentralized web. So if you guys think about an data generation, we see the most growth in enterprise. And so that's why it's a huge focus for us in our ecosystem. We also, during Brussels this year, just a few months ago, announced around 7 different partnerships with AI agents and different AI companies, really think about decentralized AI. We're going to have some announcements this week that are really exciting in this space to really think about storage for compute and AI. So we really want to bring the ability to own and be able to manage how your data is being shared back in the hands of people, and also making sure that we can think about it in AI. And finally, DeepIn. We're going to hear from a ton of companies today at this event around DeepIn innovations like Helium. And so we have a ton of other companies that are currently building on top of Filecoin. We have companies like Weather Underground, which is using Filecoin to store weather data in their stations all around the world. They recently just piloted their technology during the Paris Olympics, where they helped athletes be able to figure out what the temperature of different events was, because that's very important for athletic performance. So it's great to see a thriving DeepIn ecosystem. Filecoin and IPFS has been around since 2012, 2013. So we're kind of the grandparents in the room of DeepIn, but we really want to help support and push everyone thinking about DeepIn forward, because we do think this is one of the best use cases of blockchain and crypto today, because the utility is not in the currency itself, but more or less in how it's being used to serve a real world purpose. And that's why everyone in the Filecoin ecosystem are in it today, to really help think about running these massive data centers we have, and also making sure that they can actually give back the right files people want stored back to its users. Next slide. So you can see here, these are just a few sets of data stored on Filecoin. If you guys have ever tried to look up your MySpace profile, for those that are older in the room, you might be able to find that on a website called the Wayback Machine, which is stored on Internet Archive. Internet Archive backs up your data every single day, and they are backing up all their data on Filecoin. We also have stored ledger data, block history for a number of projects, including Solana. We have particle physics data from UC Berkeley. Imagine you're a researcher, you have huge amounts of data you want to store. We're usually a fraction of the cost of AWS when it comes to cost of storage. And so a lot of companies are looking at us for really doing long-term archival storage. We're backing up data of entire nation states like Aruba, so Aruba's history and cultural data. are stored on Filecoin. We also have groups like the Atlas experiment, publications like the Defiant. They backed up. I refuse to do an interview with them unless they store their video on Filecoin. So, good carrot there. But a lot of different groups have all used it. We have cancer data from the Victor Chang Institute in Australia. So this is also reaching around continents. If you guys have ever wanted to learn something new and tried MIT Open Learning is also backing up all their coursework on Filecoin, so people can permanently access open learning curriculum. If you guys have also any time bought an NFT, I'm sure most people here own an NFT. NFTs are all stored on a product called NFT.storage or use Filecoin in some way. So we work with a ton of NFT companies like Rarible or OpenSea. So there's tons of data, and we want to work with all of you guys to store even more. And we're also looking at how this transforms with AI and enterprise data as we look into this upcoming year. Next slide. Yeah, and so I think many of you guys already know this, but there's so many advantages of decentralized storage. A lot of traditional enterprises in Web2 are looking at decentralized storage because they want multiple backups. They don't want failure in a single point. And they also understand the importance of redundancy. And so in order for them to scale, they want to be able to reach everywhere. And when we have entrepreneurs all around the world creating their data center in even far-reaching areas of the world, this is a great place where we can scale in ways that even traditional big tech can't. We have resilience, and we also have proof of storage to really make sure the storage is always there and there's always a backup copy. So one data center goes down, you'll always have a backup copy. And for AI, these capabilities can also promote trust. Next slide. And so one of the areas that we are really passionate, like I said, about is making sure that we can restore trust. A lot of people today, in multiple surveys, they have very little trust in AI. They don't trust AI with their data, yet they're kind of forced to use it. And some of it is good, but at the end of the day, the accuracy of AI comes from the data that it's trained on. And so we really want to be at the forefront of doing this. So I mentioned earlier, here are just a few announcements from the summer. We had a number of integrations with companies in the blockchain space, like Bagel, like SingularityNet, like Nuke AI, many more. So if you guys are working in the AI space and are interested in working with us, definitely come and talk to me. My contact information will be the very end of this presentation. But we definitely want to make sure we can also make sure that everyone building on decentralized AI today, I think I was just at Create Blockchain Week and there was a decentralized AI event every single day. We want to make sure those companies are really actually even storing their data in a decentralized way, because it actually defeats the purpose of blockchain and crypto if the data layer isn't decentralized at the very end of the day. So thank you. I made a graphic with the Moon Festival. You guys can scan if you want to connect with me on Telegram or email or Twitter. So thank you for having me, and I'll turn it back to Steph.